Has a chance to get in here. Well, what is up? Oh, get that light out of that screen a little bit. How about now? We're up and rolling. It only took me 30 seconds to get it right this time, so yay me. Glad to have y'all back. We're back on schedule doing the old Thursday nighter top 5 baits. Talk to your boy, ask me some question type deal. So glad to have this live stream going. I've had a lot of technical difficulties the last couple weeks, unfortunately. That's what's been going on in my world. About got the new computer here. The videos have been taking me longer to get out. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties. We will be uploading a video as soon as this live stream is done. My video should be done exporting and ready to upload, which takes like an hour and a half to upload because it takes forever to upload stuff. But sometime tonight, you guys will have a Guides Network episode from Jason Kahn, the guy you saw me fishing with earlier in the week. And he's going to detail one of the techniques that he was using to catch fish on Monday's video. Actually just shot yesterday with a couple other guides, and we've got some good footage coming in the next couple weeks. So please do me a favor, tell all your buddies, let them know what's going on. Anybody you might talk fishing with, tell them about your Lake Fork Guide and the channel and the things that we're doing. Man, there's a lot of big things that are going to come up over the next year through the Your Lake Fork Guide brand, I guess. We're going to try and create some things and do some things for you, the fishing public. You know, I will always strive to bring you guys more knowledge and just more information and create this fishing community where we're all about helping each other catch the next fish. And, yeah, we might compete against each other, but it's going to be all in good sportsmanship type fun, and whoever catches them the best catches them the best. But other than that, we're just going to help each other catch the next fish because that's what we want. The more people catching bass that we can create, the better off we all are, the better off our sport is, and that's what I'm all about. So, I'm having an issue seeing comments again for some reason. Oh, hang on. There we go. All right. Hey, I got comments up and running now. What's up from Longview? Good to see you in the view. What up, Buzzy Green? J Laugh making an appearance. What's been cracking, bud? Ryan Johnson says, I saved him from the weird side of YouTube. YouTube can get very weird. What up, Eric Holly? We will get to the questions here in a minute. I'm going to try and hold it right there. What's up, Robert Lopez? And what's up to everybody else that said what's up to me in the comments. Appreciate it, guys. I'm going to break into top 5 baits real quick so I can get the questions because there is a lot of questions showing up already. So, hell yeah, Jake Crane. Appreciate you spreading the love about the channel. Alan Brown, good to see you on here, bud. Glad you're watching. Had a ton of fun with Alan Brown and his son. I don't know, a week or two ago, I don't know how many days ago it was, but they came out for a guide trip, and we put a hurting on them real quick. It was a fun morning, that's for sure. So, all right, top 5 baits. Hey, I'm back to myself, right? Like, I've been trying to do that deep thing, and there's some fish out there, and I can do it a little bit. But when you get to this time of year and every single guide on Lake Fork is fishing deep, it can get a little tough at times to get on a spot when the fish are there. So I've actually kind of rededicated myself to hunting down some shallow fish, some good summertime shallow fish, because I know they exist. I've caught them in years past on Fork. You just got to find the right stuff in the right areas. Hey, and this week we found a good area. And so we are doing a lot of shallow water fishing. You'll see that in our top 5 baits. You boys, y'all know this guy. Everybody knows this guy. If you've been watching this channel, old yellow belly, spro popping frog, greenback, yellow belly. That's my boy right there. Old yellow belly. That is definitely in my top 5. In some of these areas where the grass is matted up real good, we're literally throwing this all day, regardless of sunny, cloudy, whatever. So if you've got good grass and there's a lot of bait in there and there's a lot of bass in there, don't be scared to throw that frog all day long. In the areas, now this is primarily an early morning or low light conditions deal here. That's my Spook Junior in the bluegill color. You guys know I like that one right there. Old Spook Junior bluegill. I'm using those in the areas where the grass spreads out a little more, and I'm using that in low light conditions, early in the mornings or on cloudy days, or if I'm out late in the evenings. Spook Junior is definitely getting bites every single time I throw it in low light conditions, around the scattered grass. So get you a Spook Junior. It doesn't have to be that color. You can throw it in a shad pattern, or honestly, I think with topwater color probably matters less than any other bait. So whatever color you're confident in, get you a Spook Junior, throw it over around scattered grass. You should catch some fish this time of year. All right, so let's talk. That's a couple different topwaters we're using in low light conditions early in the morning, sometimes the frog all day. But let's talk about our day in, day out, all day long baits. This is the 4.8 size Kitech Phat Swing Impact. That thing is a hammer. We are catching the snot out. I mean, we're smoking them on this deal. We're having, pretty big number of days. When we get around the right stretch of grass, got good depth, good bait content, we're catching 20, 30, 40 fish a day sometimes on that Kitech. I'm going through them so fast that Oak Ridge Marina doesn't have any. They just reloaded yesterday, and I emptied them out, and I'll be through with those here in a couple more days. So if anybody out there knows somebody from Kitech, tell them to holler at your boy. I need a hookup. Then we have, I'm so glad I finally found it on Lake Fork this year. I knew it was there somewhere. It took me a long time to find it. I depended on it last year. Hey, we found it again. The old punch and bite. That's my color that, me and Kevin Sharp kind of collabed on and created this Okeechobee swirl color on that LFT flipper, Lake Fork Tackle flipper. I've got my little punch skirt, a 1 ounce weight. That's a Lake Fork Tackle tungsten. That's kind of a homemade punch skirt that I rigged up myself. But that Lake Fork Tackle tungsten is important because it's a skinnier tungsten than your average. Your average tungsten's wider, just like the Lake Fork Tackle flipper is a little bit thinner than your average beaver. Hey, that helps you get in and out of those mats. Very important. The punch and bite is starting to happen, and I could not be more happy to see that, because that is one of my that might be my very favorite way to catch them. You guys have heard the intro. I love it. I love it when you flip in there and you go, and it goes, boy, that gets you excited right there. Oh, okay, number five. All right. On the times when I do still go fish deep, I wanted to throw this in there because this is catching a lot of fish for a lot of guys, not just me. But when I do go fish deep, the number one thing that I'm throwing is a Texas rigged worm. There's a few guys throwing a few different worms. For me, it's a 10-inch worm. This has been my best one, and that's my best color. I don't even know. Ronnie Parker's going to kill me because I don't know what that color's called, but it's like a plum color with a green flake. Great summertime color every year. But this has been my best worm, 10-inch Lake Fork Tackle worm with that plum and green flake color. That's been the one I've been using. There's other guys using straight tail worms like the Zoom Mag Trick Worm. You'll see Jason Kahn's using a little bit different worm on the Guys Network episode that we're uploading later tonight. So Redbug, hey, Redbug, there it is. Redbug is the color I'm throwing. And if you're going out deep, have you a Texas rigged worm on about a 1/4 ounce weight. It'll get through all that timber real good, and them fish all are chewing on it. All right, there's top 5 baits. Let's get some questions going. Let's see. Yep, we're still catching them on the Spook. Low light conditions only, though, guys, on that Spook. That Spook, I'm catching them around shallow grass, but it's got to be low light conditions. Hey, Chris Martin, that's not what we're about on this channel, buddy. I appreciate you watching, but if you're going to leave a comment like that, man, just go somewhere else, dude. We don't need none of that here. Caught some big ones on a road bed in 15 to 18 feet. Yeah, that's the depth. On the offshore fish, the depth really seems, I mean, sometimes they'll get deeper, but the depth really seems to be 15 to 20 feet. That's kind of what we're looking at. That's where the fish are, when they're eating, that seems to be the depth they're at most days. There was a day here, I don't know, a week ago or so, where, hell, they climbed all the way up to like 10, 12 foot, and that's where they were eating. But most of the offshore fish are being caught, for me, in 15 to 20 feet, sometimes a little deeper, but usually that's the depth. Well, if I wasn't live streaming on my phone, I would definitely prank call lunkers. I appreciate it. That's actually a pretty good deal. We need to set that up. I need to get my wife's phone, and I'm going to prank call them. The problem with prank calling anybody from the Guggen Squad is all them young jokers, they don't ever answer their phone. They just want to text. They never pick up the telephone when you call. Trying to go back to the top here, see some questions. All right, what would you do when you're fishing a lake with no cover or structure and it's hot? Okay, this question's from Miles and a whole bunch of numbers. All right, a lake with no cover, no structure, so it's just a bowl and it's hot. It's going to be tough, buddy. Anything can be covered. Bass are going to relate to something. If they don't have anything, they will relate to the shoreline and the surface. The way a bass hunts, he pins his food up against stuff. How many times have you drug a bait up next to a tree, a worm or something, and that's when you get a bite, when it gets right up next to that brush or that tree? That's what they pin bait against stuff. When you see them schooling on the surface, they're using the top to pin bait up against, they're using the top of the water to pin the bait against the surface, and that's why you see them schooling like that. So in that situation, I would focus on terminal shorelines, you know, any little point or cut that the shoreline makes, and watch for schooling fish. Just really keep your eyes open for schooling fish. And even if you don't visibly see them schooling, I would fish right under the surface with really slow-moving baits like a weightless fluke. It's just going to be tough in that situation. You're going to have to cover a lot of water. You're going to have to really pay close attention to all the little things that are going on, watch for bait fish activity and all that kind of stuff. How is topwater on Lake Fork? Miguel Gomez says, how's topwater on Lake Fork? He went last week. It was not good at all. Okay, so here is the deal on the topwater bite, right? Like, it's not, like, it's summertime, guys. You're not just going to go out there and smack them everywhere you go. You're going to have to be in the right area. When I say that I found them, like, I had to hunt for weeks to find the shallow water areas that had all the right things to hold fish shallow throughout the summer. You're not just going to pull up on a point, pull into a cove, and go to catching fish. The offshore fish are out there. They're moving in and out of those points and those structures offshore all day. And I promise you, every guide out there, they're running a whole bunch of points, and there's a whole lot of points they don't catch anything on. They're running points, road beds, whatever their offshore structure fishing spots are, they're running spots all day. And they may run 20, 30 spots a day, 40 spots a day, and only catch fish on 3 or 4 or 5 of them. But when you catch them on them offshore spots, if you run into them when they're there to eat, you catch a whole bunch in a big hurry. The shallow water stuff, it's just a matter, man, it's hard to find the right areas. I'm not going to lie to you. It's summer in Texas. The fishing's not easy. That's the way it is. When you get to spend a lot of time on the lake like I do, you stay on top of them. I can't tell you exact areas because that's not fair to my customers. I can't have people going in there. And I'm not worried about you guys going there, but I'm worried about some other people that fish the lake every day that watch my channel like a hawk, that don't necessarily like this channel. Somehow they end up in the same areas as me sometimes, if you know what I'm saying. So I can't tell areas for that reason, and I apologize for that. That's the way it is. All I can tell you is, on summertime, shallow grass fishing, I like to have 4 to 5 foot on my grass. Like, if that grass isn't growing out to 4 or 5 foot, I do not feel confident that it holds fish all summer long. So if you can't find that, you just got to keep looking till you do, or you need to go fish some of that offshore stuff that we've talked about on the channel. And when you find that, throw that frog, throw that spook, you'll get some bites. Oh, man, you guys are getting after me tonight. Boy, I can't keep up with you. That's good. That's a beautiful thing. All right, looking. Oh, what's my setup for punching pads? Pads is a little different. I actually like to go really light. Like, I like to go to like an 1/8 or a 1/4 ounce and a small creature bait. Like the Fork Creature is a good one. The Baby Fork Creature from LFT is a good one. Zoom Baby Brush Hog is probably the most popular one. That's, you know, probably the biggest, widest known brand that I would use in that situation. Put something like that on a very small creature bait on a 1/4 ounce rig with like a 3/0 or 4/0 hook. And I like to flip it on those lily pads. And with lily pads, you don't have to punch because you can just fit it in the cracks, drag it off the edges. There's nothing else in there. Now, if you've got matted grass with lily pads where it's thick and it's hard to get through, that's when I go to that setup that I use where it's, 1 ounce weight, 5/0 hook, a little bit, beaver style bait, something I can slide in and out of there like that. That's a whole different deal. But for just lily pads, I like a lightweight and a small kind of finessey creature bait Texas rig. What are my thoughts on the owner flashy swimmer if I fished it? I fish it a lot. I feel like on that flashy swimmer, it does help get some extra bites when it's tough, when the bite's not very good. But I feel like when they're really biting that swim bait, I think the only thing it does is draw more little fish. With that flashy swimmer, I find that a lot of little fish come up and bite that blade. And when they're really eating a swim bait, they'll eat it with or without the blade. The bigger fish will. They'll eat it with or without the blade. That's kind of my thoughts. It helps when it's tough, for sure. I think it draws a little more tension. Gets a few more bites when the conditions are tough. Do I ever drop shot under 2468? Well, I don't know what 2468 is. I'm assuming that's one of them old farm road bridges that goes across the back of one of the creeks. No. I very rarely drop shot, period, and I don't think I've ever drop shotted under a bridge on fork in my life. So the answer to that would be no. Kyle Long says, thanks for doing this. Cost me a fortune. I cost Kyle Long a fortune after he listens to me. Hey, well, Kyle, I appreciate you watching the channel. I certainly appreciate you buying the baits from my sponsors. You guys know who my sponsors are. I talk about baits that I'm not sponsored by, like the Kitech. I have no affiliation with Kitech whatsoever. I pay full price, and that's what you get. You always get honest information here, and I appreciate you consuming it and enjoying it. I'm glad you do. So, somebody says black people don't fish. Jason Lafferty, would you please correct this fool? Because old Jason Lafferty came out with me on a guide trip, and he fished, caught a new PB. He loves the bass fish. Old J-Laugh. How do you get black people to start? Ask Jason Lafferty. Somebody says, how do you get black people to start fishing because they don't fish? Hey, black people fish all the time because they like to eat fish. So in order to eat fish, I know they go fishing. And like I said, J-Laugh loves the bass fish. J-Laugh, correct this fool. Who is this? Punt Man? J-Laugh, get on Punt Man. Let him know how them brothers fish, because I know you come out there and you caught some bass with me for sure. Talk about live mice. I don't even know what that is. I guess the channel's getting kind of big because we're starting to get trolls. So that's good. Somebody's headed to Lake Fork and wants to know if we got any rain from the tropical storm. We had very minimal rain. We're supposed to get some good rain Saturday morning. And Sunday morning. I think Saturday morning we're getting a little more than Sunday morning. But early Saturday and early Sunday we're supposed to have some rain. So if you're going out Saturday and Sunday this weekend, watch out for lightning. If it's lightning, just wait till that's done. Hey, these fish are biting all day. Just because it's getting hot does not mean they're not biting. The fishing has been just as good up in the middle of the day. There's usually kind of a dead window between, say, like 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. But other than that, I mean, you can catch fish all the way up till middle of the afternoon. Don't get in a hurry. Don't take any chances with lightning. That stuff will kill you in a heartbeat. Do I like the Yamamoto hardtail swim bait? Nope. Never used it. Don't know nothing about it. Do we peg our Texas rigs for offshore fishing in thick cover? Some do, some don't. I don't. I like that worm to kind of flutter around, but the Guides Network episode that you guys will see later tonight, it's going to get uploaded later this evening. Jason Kahn, he does peg his Texas rigs. I want that worm to separate from that weight and kind of flutter around real soft and slow. I like that action. I think it gets me some more bites. Just my personal opinion. There's a lot of guys that do it different. That's right. Oh, Cody Rayburn says that 2 o'clock 8-pounder bite was good the other day. Yeah, just a couple days ago, Cody Rayburn was in my boat. We were on a guide trip. He took a guide trip with me. And I messed around and caught the big fish of the day in front of him. I felt kind of bad about it, but I didn't feel that bad because I got to catch an 8-pounder. So I don't like catching fish in front of my customers, but, you know, every once in a while it's okay. Cody was pretty excited to see a fish that big, so it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we caught the biggest fish of the day, 8 pounds, 6 ounces, like right at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, Sprinkler frog. I've seen some guys doing some videos on it out west. I honestly have not laid eyes on it. I'm so busy right now. You know, I'm out every day. I don't get a chance to consume much news. It's all I can do to get these videos done to get them out to y'all. But yeah, I've seen where some guys have made some videos on it. I have not watched any of the videos, so I don't know anything about it. If it's made by Teckle, it's probably pretty good. They make some good stuff. Have I ever been to Lake Eufaula in Alabama? I have never been to Alabama for fishing, period. I've never fished in Alabama. It is definitely a place I want to go, but I have not had that chance yet. Have I caught a bass yet on the Convict with the flashy swimmer? Yes. Yep, I have. Wasn't a giant, but it was a good fish. We've had a lot of heartbreak on the Convict because we're throwing this other swim bait a lot. And on days when they're biting that other swim bait a lot, I'm taking that Convict, you know, if somebody wants to catch a giant or somebody, you know, maybe I want to experiment with it and see if I can get one to bite it. We're kind of just throwing it around in very selective spots and opportunities, and I have connected on a couple fish, but for the most part, we've had more heartbreak than anything. You guys saw in a video a couple weeks ago or whatever, I had a break off on it and had one jump off on it. And we've had a lot of the same with my customers. In fact, Cody Rayburn's boat partner the other day, the guy he came with on the guide trip, threw it at the end of the day for about an hour or so, and he had one bite on it. He set the hook, and we seen a big old swirl behind the bait, and that was it. We haven't really connected on it like I think there's potential to. I'm going to keep experimenting with it because it looks like it may be for real. And I am throwing that flashy swimmer on it now just to experiment. No other reason. I'm just doing it to experiment. Have I ever fished Lake Coffee Mill in Bonham? Sure have not. I have not fished Coffee Mill. What are my favorite football jigs and trailers? All right, so for football jigs, I have two, and one of them's not even a football jig. For a pure football jig, there's only one, in my opinion. That's the Santone Lures football jig. It is absolutely the best football jig I ever put my hands on. It hooks the fish. It's got the right hook. The skirts are always top quality. The colors are phenomenal. They have a ton of color options. Santone Lures football jigs. I'm not sponsored by them, but man, they have the best football jig in the game. Now, 6 Sense Lures is making this hybrid jig now. I'm a big fan. To me, it's a football jig because it has that beveled bottom where when I drag it, it'll rock just like a football jig, but yet it's got a triangular head that allows me to get through timber and brush piles. I can throw that thing in wood and brush and get it through there a whole lot better than any football jig on the market. So it's called a hybrid jig, and it really is, and it's kind of the best of both worlds, and I am a huge fan. In fact, every offshore jig fish I've caught this year or my customers have caught this year has been, with the exception of one, there was one that was caught on a Santone jig, but all the others have been caught on that hybrid jig from 6 Sense. Trailers on that, I go with the Rage Crawl probably 90% of the time. The other trailer that I use when I want something that's a little more compact, I'll take that Lake Fork Tackle Flipper and I'll trim about half an inch off the back at the end of it, make it a little shorter, and it just has those two little legs that kick out, and they have those rudders that spread them out and make them kick a little bit. And that's just a more subtle presentation. I will change it up and go with that every once in a while. And then the one other thing that I have thrown in the past but I haven't thrown this year, I have used the Lake Fork Tackle Crawl Tube on a football jig with success. Who was the company that made that custom spoon lure you have? Okay. Joe Spates, the original inventor a flutter spoon. His company's called Weedless Lures. He's right there on Lake Fork. He doesn't have a website. He doesn't even take a credit card. Like, you got to have cash in hand to buy baits from him at his store. You can call him and order baits from him. But his store is right there on Highway 17 at the Little Mustang Bridge on Lake Fork. But Joe Spates is working on something. He's kind of letting me have some influence on it. And working on a flutter spoon that we're fishing in grass. So we're trying to get it right. When it's ready for release, I promise you guys will hear about it. You'll know about it. And man, it's got a lot of potential, boys. I'm really excited about it for sure. How would I fish the LFT Hyper Worm? LFT Hyper Worm? There's two different ways to fish it. Well, you can fish it a couple different ways. You can fish it on a drop shot. You can fish it on a shaky head. You can fish it Texas rigged. For me, I fish it Texas rigged on like a 1/4 ounce, a light Texas rig with a 4/0 EWG hook. And then the other way to fish it is actually weightless over grass. It works pretty good. It gets some different bites. It's a different look. We do use it like that. All right, this guy says, I seem to get a lot more backlashes when I'm throwing or flipping heavy cover, when I'm throwing or flipping heavy fluorocarbon. Should I tighten up my brakes when throwing heavy fluoro? So the deal on that, if you're going to use heavy fluoro has low memory. Fluoro has low stretch, but it has high memory. It's a stiffer line. The deal with that is you got to be using a bait that's heavy enough to straighten out that fluorocarbon. So if you're trying to throw a 1/4 ounce Texas rig on 20-pound fluorocarbon, you're going to deal with that. You're going to deal with a lot of loose line on your spool. You're going to have to tighten your brakes down so tight it's going to be hard to throw that light bait. It's an issue. So if you're not fishing at least a 1/2 ounce or bigger bait, you need to go with lighter fluorocarbon. When I'm throwing a 1/4 ounce Texas rig, I go down to 15. If you want to throw 20-25, you got to do it on a 3/4 ounce. Really, you need about 3/4 ounce, at least 1/2 ounce weighted bait to do that. So that hopefully that'll help solve your problem. You got to match. You can't overpower your bait with your line. That's a big issue. What size weight of flashy swimmer do we run on the Kitech? When I throw the flashy swimmer on the Kitech, I don't know what the weights are on them. I use a 5/0 flashy swimmer. The weight just comes on it. It's probably like 3/8 or something. Maybe it's a 1/4. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'm using the 5/0. This is the 4.8 Kitech. I'm using the 5/0 flashy swimmer on that one. Oh. Do I ever put an LFT Magic Shad for a trailer on a chatterbait? Miles, you have not been watching this channel very, very long, because if you saw us back in the cold time of year in January, February, even March, we threw the chatterbait on almost every video, it seemed like, for a while. And absolutely, I use the LFT Magic Shad. It's the only trailer that I use on a chatterbait is the LFT Magic Shad. I don't ever put anything else on a chatterbait. Jack Murphy. All right, cool. Hey, I appreciate the feedback on that, Jack Murphy. Yeah, I'm kicking around the idea. Whoops, got to turn the phone down there. Kicking around the idea of coming out with some Your Lake Fork Guide apparel with the logo that's at the top of the YouTube channel, top of the Facebook page, all that stuff. You guys have seen the logo. So, yeah, let me know, guys. Comment now or comment after we publish the video on the live stream. Let me know what you think about buying some Your Lake Fork Guide apparel, shirts, hoodies, stuff like that, hats. If you're interested in Your Lake Fork Guide apparel, please let me know. Text me if you want to. I don't care. But I'd like to know how many of you guys would be interested in that. And we are kicking around that idea. Nothing's final yet. But it's definitely something that I'm interested in doing for you guys if y'all are interested in buying them. Do I ever fish in Duck Cove? I assume you mean Duck Call. Duck Call Cove. Not a lot. It's a place that gets a lot of boats in it. To me, there's just not enough bang for your buck in there. February, I do go in there, and it's a good spot to throw a jerkbait and a chatterbait and stuff like that in February. I do fish it then. The rest of the year, it just doesn't hold enough fish for the amount of pressure it gets, to me, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who do really well in there, but in my experience, that's just, my experience. So, do I hunt? I do not. I grew up hunting. I hunted all my life as a child. Just being real with you guys, I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've touched a gun since I got out of the Marine Corps. I'm not like, Mr. PTSD, I'll never touch a gun again. I'm not anti-gun. I own guns. I just haven't had any desire to do it. I'm starting to kind of get a bug to go duck hunting again. In fact, I'm kicking around the idea of maybe doing some duck hunting videos this winter with some guys. I know a lot of guys that hunt. But I just haven't gotten back into it. I'm so consumed and I'm so in love with bass fishing that I have a hard time getting away from it, It's just not worth the investment to me, I guess, to go do other hobbies when I love bass fishing so much, and I've got everything I need. It's so easy for me to hook up to the boat and go fishing, especially around here in East Texas. There's lakes all around me, that I just haven't really got back into it. But I'm open to the possibility. You guys may see some hunting videos this winter. We'll see. Do I use the same line when throwing swim jigs and chatterbaits? Yep. I like a 17-pound fluorocarbon to throw a swim jig and a chatterbait, unless I am constantly having to jerk that bait through grass, and then I go to 50-pound braid. But yep, I use the same line for both. Yeah, guys. This guy said he would buy a hat and your Lake Fork Guy long sleeve dry weave type shirt for sure. Yeah, if we make a shirt, so the one that I'm going to make, if we make one, is going to be the dry fit like these are, the real thin, comfortable, soft material, that dry fit material, and it's going to be long sleeve, and it's going to have the really light hood attached. Because look, y'all see how red my neck is? I need to start wearing a hood, so that's why I'm going to make them. You guys have seen some of the Under Armour shirts and stuff like that have the thin hood attached to the the dry fit material. That's what I'm going to do. Do I run the Lake Fork Legends chip in my electronics? Absolutely, I do. I do run the Lake Fork Legends chip, and I believe it is quite possibly the very best tool in my boat for a guy that fishes Lake Fork day in, day out like I do. All right, this guy, let's see, Joe Mullis asks, he's looking into purchasing his first boat. Would a shorter boat limit me on the size of lakes I could fish, talking about like a 16 or 17 footer? Well, Joe, sometimes, but the boat that I learned Lake Fork in was a 17 foot, it was actually 16 foot, 11 inch Pro Gator bass boat. Now, it was a glass boat, not an aluminum boat. I think that's important. When you're bass fishing, aluminum boats, you can get the job done in, but there's a lot of things, especially offshore fishing, that an aluminum boat very much limits you in. So I fished Lake Fork out of a 17-foot boat, and you better have a pair of male fortitude on you. You better have some guts, because there's going to be some days that it's going to pucker you up getting out in that 17-foot boat. I mean, you just got to be cautious, be safe, know the limits of the boat, get to know it in and out, know what it can and can't do in the big water, and just be careful. But you can do it. You can do it. I would say the most important thing when you're buying, especially a used boat, is get good electronics and a dependable motor. So make sure you have a mechanic check out everything on the motor. Your mechanic, not his. Get your own mechanic that you trust. Have him check the motor out for you before you buy it, and then make sure you get good electronics. If that's there and there ain't no leaks in it, buddy, get after it, man. Go get it, and if you can afford it, buy what you can afford, and go get after the fish. I won a lot of tournaments, and I took a lot of big boats money in that 17-foot Pro Gator, so it can be done. What's the best topwater bait for flooded trees? In the summertime, a spook. I like a spook the very best in the summertime for flooded timber. Yeah, somebody's asking about dropping brush piles. Oh, and he's at Lake of the Pines. So this guy's asking about dropping brush piles on Lake of the Pines. Man, I'd rather spend my time on my electronics finding other people's brush piles than make my own. Making your own brush piles is very labor intensive, and there's a whole lot of brush on East Texas Lake, especially Lake of the Pines has so much standing timber in it, and there's been so many brush piles dumped in it over the years that I don't really see the point of adding more. There's more than enough cover. You couldn't fish every piece of cover on Lake of the Pines if you tried your whole life. So I wouldn't waste my time doing that. I'd just go get on my electronics and look for existing cover that's already there. All right, so a lot of guys are saying they'd buy a shirt. A lot of guys are saying they'd buy a hat. So I have a new task at hand, and that's to look into getting you guys some apparel made. That may take some time, so be patient with me on that. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt dumping brush piles, Jake. Don't waste too much time doing that, man. I did it once, and I learned it's a pain in the butt. Don't do it. Well, all right, guys. That's going to do it. We've been on here for 36 minutes. Wow, long Q&A. You guys really did good with the questions tonight. I appreciate all the questions. I'm going to try and answer these last couple. Greg Doman says he's going to be visiting Dallas, Fort Worth area near Lake Louisville in the upcoming months. What are some of the best lakes in the areas to fish? In DFW, I'll tell you the two that I fished, and they're both pretty good lakes, is Lake Grapevine and Lake Ray Hubbard. That's the two DFW lakes that I fished, and they are both pretty good lakes. So I would recommend hitting both of those. Lake Louisville is supposed to be a pretty decent lake too. Ray Roberts has got giants in it, but I think it's kind of hard to catch them in. That's about all I know about DFW lakes. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot. Yep, Greg, Lake Grapevine. J-Laugh says Lake Grapevine. Grapevine is a good lake, and it's got big smallmouth and big bass, big largemouth. It's a neat lake. All right, guys, got to wrap it up. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate all the questions. I will get to work on finding out what it's going to take for me to get some apparel made, and I will update you as we go along in that process. There's going to be some more exciting things coming in the next 6 to 12 months. By the time we get to next year, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff for the Your Lake Fort Guide community, and I appreciate y'all being a part of it. It's only because of you guys that I'm able to stay so busy as a guide and so busy on these videos, and I really appreciate every single one of you that watches and comments and participates in this community that we're building. I think that we're really, I don't know about nationwide, I don't know about statewide, but I know in my own little neighborhood, we are definitely affecting some change in some of the attitude or maybe just bad culture that we have in bass fishing. We're affecting some change in that. It is being felt for sure in the area that I'm in, what I experience every day, and that's because of y'all. And I really appreciate it. Can't say thank you enough. And I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching Your Lake Fort Guide. And we'll see you next time right here on Your Lake Fort Guide.